What is up, y'all? It's your girl Evelyn, and today we're gonna try to figure out why Kristen Stewart's upcoming lesbian movie is apparently making people sick. We're also breaking down Renee Rapp and Megan Thee Stallion's brand new and super gay song. I also need to vent about how Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore fleeced me into watching May December. And last but not least, I think I might have just watched the best lesbian Christmas movie since Happiest season. We are diving into all of that and more on today's episode of Queer She Said. So we have to start with Kristen Stewart's brand new lesbian bodybuilding movie. It's called Love Lies Bleeding, and it's being billed as a romantic thriller, which I love. But here's a synopsis. Reclusive gym manager Lou falls hard for Jackie, an ambitious bodybuilder headed through town to Las Vegas in pursuit of her dream. But their love ignites violence, pulling them deep into the web of Lou's criminal family. Oh shit. Lou is being played by Kristen Stewart. She's going to be the reclusive gym manager. I already feel like she nailed it. Like reclusive, weird, awkward Kristen Stewart. Now, before we get into why people are getting sick over this movie, like literally getting sick, I do want to shout out her love interest, who is played by an actress named Katie O'Brien. Now, if you're a Marvel fan, you might have seen her in Ant-Man and the Wasp, or if you're a Star Wars fan, you might recognize her from The Mandalorian. I am neither, so I had never heard of her before this movie, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Katie is perfectly cast because old girl is swole as fuck. She looks good. Anyway, I know there's more to a part than looks. Like I'm sure she's qualified as an actress. So anyway, Love Lies Bleeding doesn't come out until next year, but they had a test screening in New York, and apparently the audience had visceral reactions. Now, to be fair, this is an unverified report, which means it could be bullshit. We don't know. But according to World of Real, who received the unverified tip-off, the visceral reactions came from the gore, blood, and puking throughout. They went on to say the film has a strange ending that will make this a love it or hate it type of movie, calling it Pain and Gain for indie lesbians. Okay, so there's a lot there. First of all, I don't do puking. I can't. I have no problem with gore. I have no problem with blood. But I can't do vomit. I can't even do vomit in a comedy. You know, like how sometimes a character will like throw up for comedic effect. They don't even show anything really. I can't even do comedy puking. I know I'm not special. Most people hate vomiting, but I just can't. Now, if I'm gonna watch Love Lies Bleeding, because of course I am, but God damn it. Hopefully there's not too much puking. But back to this quote. They also called it Pain and Gain for indie lesbians. I have no idea what Pain and Gain is. I assume it's a movie. Okay. Pain and Gain is a 2013 movie. It starred Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Mark Wahlberg. Okay. All right, Pain and Gain. A trio of bodybuilders in Florida get caught up in an extortation ring and a kidnapping scheme that goes terribly wrong. So it's a comedy. Anthony Mackie is also in it. Our girl Rebel Wilson was in it. Huh. Well, that wasn't helpful. You know what's really interesting about this? It's directed by Rose Glass, who directed Saint Maud, which was like a horror psychological thriller about a disturbed young nurse doing disturbing shit. And actually, there is a tiny bit of queerness in Saint Maud. Not a lot, you know, nothing to write home about, but there is some. If you didn't watch Saint Maud, it was a very interesting film. I have very mixed feelings about it. I didn't love it though. Although the ending was fire. Anyway, the point is, I'm very much looking forward to Love Lies Bleeding, despite the fact that I'm going to have to watch it probably with my hands over my eyes. I hope it's good. But moving on, our girl Renee Rapp has teamed up with Bicon Megan Thee Stallion for a song off of the Mean Girls musical film that's coming out next month. The song is called Not My Fault, and I believe it's the first song off of the official soundtrack of the movie, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But before we get to the song, we have to talk about the cover for this single because, girl, if you're listening to the podcast, I highly recommend you go Google the cover of the single of Not My Fault because now I'm going to try to keep it respectful, okay? But Renee's entire ass is on display, whole ass out. They both look beautiful and bootiful. I love it. Anyway, the song is called Not My Fault, and it's really gay. It has some very, very gay lyrics. So I'm going to play a little snippet of the song, the gay part of the song.
Kiss a blind, kiss a friend. Can a gay girl get an amen?
Now, if you didn't know, Renee Rapp is playing Regina George in the new Mean Girls musical film, but she also played Regina George in the Broadway musical of Mean Girls. Now, some people are hoping that because the song is so gay, that Regina George in this iteration of Mean Girls might be gay. I doubt that because the musical film, as far as I know, is based on the Broadway musical and she's not gay in the play. I'm guessing she probably won't be gay in the film version, but then again, you never know. Also, I like the song. It's super fun. It feels very much in the spirit of Mean Girls. I have nothing bad to say about the song. And even though it's not my favorite Renee Rapp song or Megan feature, it's a little bop. It's a little ditty. Ugh. Motherfucker has ruined the word ditty. Jesus. Anyway, sorry. It's a cute little bop. Highly recommend it if you haven't listened to it. And actually, speaking of gay ass songs, national lesbian treasure Kate McKinnon has set the queer internets aflutter. She recently hosted SNL. The whole episode is fantastic and hilarious. Billie Eilish is the musical guest. She's in a ton of sketches. I highly recommend all of it. But if you only watched one sketch from Kate McKinnon's SNL hosting, it needs to be Tampon Farm. And I'm not going to tell you anything else about Tampon Farm. Just go to YouTube and watch it. I love Kate McKinnon so much. It's so crunchy. Also, apparently there's a lot of music this week. I want to shout out Nyong'o, who is family. She just dropped a new single last week called Open Scars. It is so good. But I think everything Nyong'o does is good. Like, she's such a good rapper. I just want to congratulate her because earlier this year, she had some medical issues. So it's really, really nice to see that she is in recovery or has recovered. Also, it's just a good song. She also added some very vulnerable clips of herself talking about some of her struggles and issues. I loved it. I love Young M.A. So yeah, go listen to Open Scars. Fantastic song. Okay, we're done with music. I didn't know we had so much music. So I feel like I have to give this update because I talked so much about Lupita in a previous podcast episode. So it's only right that I update you on her love life, which for the record, absolutely none of our business, but we're still going to talk about it. So anyway, we have to pour out some liquor for what could have been a beautiful, gorgeous, talented, amazing queer couple. So the last time I talked about Lupita, she was posting friendly thirst traps for Janelle Monáe on the Instagram. She was throwing out the word lipstick lover, okay? And Lupita got everybody's tongues wagging, including mine, because we thought it's finally happening. They're gonna finally get together and we can all live vicariously through their relationship. And by we, I do mean me, but recently, it has come out that Lupita will not be Janelle Monáe's next lipstick lover. Instead, it seems like she might be Joshua Jackson's next baby mama. Now, I say that only because Mr. Jackson has a history of impregnating beautiful Black women. No shade, that's just what he does. And look, I am not here to slander Joshua Jackson. I couldn't if I wanted to, okay? I grew up watching The Mighty Ducks. I grew up watching Dawson's Creek. Josh Jackson was one of the few boy crushes that I had growing up, okay? Like, I cannot even fix my mouth to say anything bad about Joshua Jackson. As a gay woman, I can look at Josh Jackson and be like, I get it. I do. As for Janelle, Janelle's going to be fine, okay? They're going to be absolutely fine. And Janelle, if you find yourself in a space where you need a shoulder to cry on, I have two. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to try to keep this brief because I'm very annoyed. I want to talk about May December. This is the Natalie Portman, Julianne Moore movie that is based on the Mary Kay Letourneau story. Now, if you've never heard of Mary Kay Letourneau, she was a teacher who in the 90s molested one of her 12-year-old students, got pregnant, had the child, got pregnant again, had a second child, went to prison, got out of prison, married this boy once he turned 18, and was married to him for like 20 years until she died of cancer a few years ago. That is the story the movie May December is based on. Now, everything I know about Mary Kay Letourneau, I learned against my will. I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but ugh, she was a piece of work, man. So, given that, I had absolutely no desire to watch May December. That was until I read this interview that Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore gave to some publication. And now I'm going to read the synopsis of the film because even though it's based on Mary Kay Letourneau, it does have its own little plot. May December tells the story of TV actress Elizabeth, played by Natalie Portman, who is researching for her upcoming role in a film in which she will play sex offender Gracie, Julianne Moore, a woman who made tabloid headlines for her 23-year-long relationship with her husband Joe, which began when he was 13 and she was 36. So that's May December. An actress is basically shadowing the sex offender and her boy groom so that she can play her in a movie. That's the plot of May December. So back to Natalie and Julianne. They gave this interview to some publication talking about the chemistry between the two women in the film. So this is what Natalie said. I think a lot of queerness, as far as I understand it, also has to do with stepping out of prescribed societal boundaries that are imposed upon you. I think both of these characters, both of these women, are so intent on writing their own narratives, declaring their own identity, creating their own story. That's really this dynamic between them. There is that inherent queerness to it. So that was Natalie. Then Julianne says, both, meaning both of their characters, both very much know how to perform femininity. I think one of the characteristics of performative femininity is seduction. They're out there throwing it at each other. Now, I read all that and I was like, well, wait a minute. I think I need to watch this movie. But I was not expecting a kiss or anything. Like, I was not like, oh, they're going to be fucking. No, not at all. But I did expect, at the very least, some sexual chemistry, some sexual tension, right? There's going to be some subtextual queerness. Like, I know this is not a queer story. I wasn't going into it expecting a queer story, but I was going into it expecting something queer. So I watched the movie and I just want to ask Natalie, ma'am, what did you mean by that? Because I don't think I watched the same movie you watched. Okay, what I'm about to say is going to be very controversial, but we're family, right? You and I, we're family. And I feel like I can talk like this to you. Girl, a straight actress will make uninterrupted eye contact with another woman and be like, there is an inherent queerness. Ma'am, the thing is, not everything is queer, and that's okay. Like, yes, as a gay bitch, I would love it if everything was queer, but I fully understand that everything is not queer and everything doesn't have to be queer. Anyway, that being said, I don't regret watching May December. I think it was a good movie. My guy who played Joe, Charles Melton, broke my heart into several little pieces. I cried. Well, I didn't cry. I teared up twice during the movie. I didn't find it to be inherently queer, but it's still a good movie. So we are moving on to some super quick good gay news. First of all, Rap Shit finally gets gay. Rap Shit is a show that I have never talked about on the podcast or even on my YouTube channel because up until recently, it wasn't gay. It's a show that I love. It's a show that I've been watching since season 1, but it has finally gotten gay. Now, if you're not up to date on Rap Shit, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a queer character. She has been on the show since the very first episode of season 1, but we've never actually seen her be gay with another lady until recently. And she has a sex scene. It was good. It was good. The sex scene could have been longer. I think the sex scene should have been longer because it was very nice to look at. Anyway, we're keeping it respectful. So anyway, Rap Shit got gay. Love to see it. Our next piece of good gay news is that Harlem has been renewed for a 3rd season. 2 of the main characters on Harlem are queer. So happy for Harlem. Moving on to our last piece of super quick good gay news, Britney Griner is getting that Disney money. So it was just announced that Britney has 3 projects with Disney coming up. 1 is going to be a scripted series about her life. 1 is going to be an exclusive sit-down interview with Robin Roberts, who is also family. The 3rd is going to be a documentary about everything that happened to her in Russia. And also Britney's wife is going to be producing that documentary. I am so happy and thrilled for Britney. So I think that is it for our super quick good gay news this week, which leads us to some unsurprising, not good gay news. So recently, Simon Barry, who was the showrunner of Warrior Nun, gave an interview or something. I don't know. God forbid I list any kind of sources. But anyway, Simon was just talking about how he and the writers really wanted to emphasize the lesbian relationship in the second season, which they did. But when he first brought that to Netflix, they got a lot of pushback. Netflix was basically like, you sure about that? And Simon's like, yeah, they're gay. We want to gay it up this season. According to Simon, the Netflix execs were just like worried that, they were doing too much with the gay shit, that maybe they needed to come back into the action, the nunnery of it all. I don't know. Basically, they just really fought for their vision of the second season. Although I wonder if it would have been more gay if it wasn't for the pushback. I don't really have an opinion about this. It's just, it's just disappointing, but it's not surprising. So moving on, I want to talk very briefly about this movie. It's called Deadly Desire, and I am curious if any of you have heard of it or watched it. I found out about it from a YouTube ad of all places. And I'll be honest, any lesbian shit catches my attention, obviously. But especially if it's Black and Sapphic, it really catches my attention because let's be honest, there's not a lot of lesbian shit. Well, there's even less Black lesbian shit. It's like we're unicorns or something. So when I saw Deadly Desire, I'm like, you know what? Let me go watch it. You guys, this might be the most insane movie I have ever watched. I'm going to read the synopsis. Okay. Sophia's dream wedding turns sinister when friends start dying at her bachelorette party. She suspects her obsessed best friend, Melody, who harbors a deadly love. Okay, so I'm not going to spoil this movie, first of all, because I think every single person listening should go watch it. I'm serious. Not because it's a good movie, it's not. But if you have like a friend or two and maybe like a case of Issa Rae's Prosecco and this movie, you are gonna have a fun ass night. This is maybe the best entry into the predatory lesbian trope I have ever seen. Not since the killing of Sister George has there been a more straight up devious lesbian character. This woman, Melody, is on a whole nother level. She is like mustache twirling, cartoonishly villainous, unapologetically evil. She is also thick as fuck. That has nothing to do with anything. But anyway, again, I don't want to spoil the movie, but here's a couple of the things that I loved about this movie. One, the main character, Melody. So for her profession, she makes and sells CBD oils for a living, yet somehow makes enough money to rent out what has to be at least $1 million villa. Like, how? It's like when SNL parodies House Hunters, people looking for like $15 million homes, but they sell crochet socks on Etsy. I love it. Something else I loved is there is a scene where a character has to go outside just so she can vape, which is hilarious. But then she vapes next to a no smoking sign that's nailed to a tree. Like, that has layers. Now, I don't think this is giving away anything because based on the synopsis, Melody is killing bitches. My favorite thing about Melody is the fact that she just leaves the dead bodies just like wherever. Like sometimes she buries them, but not always. Like they're literally just willy-nilly all over the place, and I think that's fantastic. I will say she does rack up a very impressive body count. Like I said, this is not what I would call a good movie. This is not a film that will win any awards, probably. It's also not a film with the highest of budgets or audio equipment, but I had so much fun watching this. Again, get you some liquor, get you a couple of friends. You're gonna have a fun night. You're gonna be howling, I promise you. Moving on, I have to check on the boys. I'm worried about the boys. So last episode, I talked about Our Son, the Billy Porter, Luke Evans movie about the traumatic breakup of a 13-year marriage. It looked to be very much a tearjerker. Well, we have another upcoming movie called Good Grief, which might even be sadder than Our Son. So here's a synopsis. Mark chose to distract himself from the pain of his mother's death by diving headfirst into a comfortable marriage with a charming, wealthy older man. But when his husband also dies, unexpectedly, Mark's world is cracked wide open, forcing him and his two best friends to embark on a cathartic, life-affirming adventure to make peace with all the grief he'd been evading. Aw, the boys are sad this year. The boys are in their feelings. Now, if you are a watcher of my YouTube channel, you know that I am easily impressed by a well-cut trailer. I shouldn't be. I have been bamboozled more than once by a well-cut trailer, but by golly, good grief, it has such a well-cut trailer. It's really good. Like, it got me. It hit me in the heart. Also, my girl Ruth Negga is in this film. Now, if you watch Passing, you'll recognize her. Good Grief is coming out in January, and I can't wait to watch it. All right, I think that's it. Oh, no, that's not it. I do want to update you guys on my queer Christmas movie watching this year. I have now watched 3 of the 5 queer Christmas movies that came out, or I should say that were supposed to come out this month. So I watched A Holiday I Do, which was the Tello Films movie. I watched It's a Wonderful Knife, which was the Christmas slasher. And I watched Friends and Family Christmas, and that was the Hallmark movie. I did not watch Christmas on Cherry Lane because apparently Hallmark movies expire off of the app, and I didn't know that. So when I went to go watch it, it was already gone. Although that was the one about the gay couple having a baby, which I thought sounded boring. So the other one that I didn't watch was The Holiday Exchange. That has not come out. There's literally no information about it, so I don't think that's coming out. So basically, I watch the lesbian ones. And if I have time, I'm going to try to do a bonus podcast episode about all 3 of the Christmas movies, because I will say this. In my opinion, and I feel like I've watched every lesbian Christmas movie in existence. I don't know that that's true, but I think I have. So anyway, in my opinion, Friends and Family Christmas, which is the fake dating Hallmark movie, is the second best lesbian Christmas movie in existence. And it's second only to Happiest Season, which, as you guys know, had a budget, had star power, was on Hulu. Friends and Family Christmas did not have all of that. I'm not gonna lie, I was really surprised. I was pleasantly surprised. You know what also surprised me about this movie? There's a slight May December in this movie. I didn't know that. I liked it. It was cute. The leads had great chemistry. And I still don't love the title of this movie. And now that I've watched it, I do understand why they would have picked that title. It's fitting, but it's so generic. But anyway, yeah, I'm probably going to do the bonus episode about the Christmas movies. And if you missed it, I did do a bonus episode on Eileen, 14 minutes long. I had a lot to say about Eileen. So that is going to be it for the episode. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.